domain are pretty easy to understand and they're really helpful on Grasshopper. To understand how to use them, let's use the construct domain. And basically, domain is an infinite range of numbers between two bounds. So we can say that we have a lower and the upper bound, so the start and an end. So in this example, we have the main component that is construct domain, and you can see that we have the domain start and domain end. If I connect the panel, you can see that the domain is written like this, so from a start to an end, so in this case from 0 to 1, and I can change the end, let's say from 0 to 10, and yeah, that's basically it for the domain. So basically, if I have the domain from 0 to 10, all the possible numbers between those two bounds are like useful. So if I have 1, 5, 6, 5.5, 3.692, these are all numbers inside this range and they can be used. So let's go to another component. We have the Deconstruct Domain, and if I connect the Deconstruct Domain to my domain, it basically gets the start and the end of this domain. So if I have from 0 to 10, the start must be 0 and the end must be 10, as you can see. And this is like really simple, and this Deconstruct Domain, we can see it also here in this Deconstruct Domain square and this one as well. So then we can also see these three components, and actually the bounds and the remap numbers I used it on another video about the point attractors, so you can see that video to understand how to use it. Here I'm just going to explain briefly how to use it. So basically for these two, if I, let's say, use a series of number, you can see that I have this series of number between 0 and 9, so I have 10 values, and let's say I want to change these values to be fit between 0 and 5, but always keeping 10 values. So what I have to do here is to connect my series of numbers in these bounds, so I get the lower and the upper value of this domain, and in this case is from 0 to 9, and this series here are actually my values that have to be remapped. So I connect the value here. The source is the bounds, so the domain of my series, so I will connect the source here, and the target is the domain that I want it to fit. So let's say I want to fit the values between 0 and 5, so I just put from 0 to 5. I can also connect this construct domain here on this target, but it's more easy like to say change domain here. And now you can see that if I connect here, you can see all my values between actually all the 10 values are fit between 0 and 5, so I can change domain whenever I want, but this is really helpful. This component basically just divide my domain in different parts. So let's say I just use this domain from 0 to 10, actually from 0 to 9, sorry, and I wanted to divide this domain in 10 parts, so starting from 0 to 1, then 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and so on. I can connect the domain here, and the count here by default is 10. So if I connect this one here, you can see that I have actually 0.9 because the count must be like, let's say 11. And now you can see because domain now starts from 0 to 10 because it has 11 values. So my domain is divided in 10 different parts, so I have 10 values, and each one is basically has one step, so from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and so on. So this is it for these components. Now I will show you how to use, for example, these two here for a surface, because these two domains here are basically referring to a U and V direction, so it's basically a two-dimensional shape, let's say X and Y direction. So let's use a rectangle component, and I will change the size of 10. So I have 10 by 10, and I will just use boundary surface to create my surface. So I have my surface here, and what I want to do now is just taking a small part of this surface, based on a specific domain. So the first important thing to do is to use a component called Isotrim, and this basically, as you can see, extract an isoparametric subset of a surface. So I will connect my surface and get a specific domain about that surface. So I know that this surface has a range between 0 and 10 on the x direction and the y direction as well. So let's say I want to, you can see here actually that each square is a step. So let's say I want the square in the middle that starts from the step 3 until the step 7, let's say, and the same goes on the y direction. So I will use the number 3 and 7, and I will connect on the u minimum as well, and on the v, and then u maximum and v max. So I will connect the domain here, and as you can see, I get the square in the middle, and I can change the values as I like actually. So I can make this square bigger and bigger. So if I start from 0 to 10, basically I have the same geometry that I had before, but I can change this one with these two sliders, or I can use different like 4 different sliders to change each one specifically. The same goes with this construct domain square, but this gets a specific domain on u and v direction. So I can actually connect a construct domain here and here as well. So it doesn't actually change much because they are pretty much the same, but here you get the single values, but here it's basically the same because you can connect the 3 on the start and the end and use this one for u and v direction, and if you connect this one here, you get the same result. So the last one and the most, let's say, useful one, because it's it's commonly used, it's the divide domain with this like symbol. You can remember it, but it's actually the last one, so it's pretty easy to understand. Basically what it does, it divides a specific surface with different domains. So if I connect my surface, this is my basic domain, and I want my surface to be divided, let's say in 10, let's say 10 by 10. So I will have a square here, here, and here, and in all my geometry. So I just use 2 sliders to change the u and v count, and I connect the domain here. You can see now that my geometry is divided with a grid based on these numbers. So the u, that is the x direction, let's say I want to just divide by 2, so I will just put 2. You can see that now I have 2 part on my x direction, and now on my y direction, let's say I want to put 5. So you can see that with these 2 components, you can basically divide a surface with a specific grid using a specific range of numbers. So this is basically for domains, and later on in different tutorials we will see how to use them in different cases. But as always, if you have any question, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next tutorial.